Welcome to a journey into one of the most beautiful and influential functions in mathematical history. If I asked you what 5 factorial is, you would quickly calculate 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 to get 120. But what if I asked you for the factorial of 0.5? Or what if I asked you for the factorial of a complex number? For centuries, these questions seemed nonsensical. Factorials were for counting objects, discrete, whole items. But in the 18th century, a breakthrough occurred that allowed us to connect the dots between the integers. This is the story of the gamma function. The quest began with a simple problem of interpolation. Mathematicians wanted a smooth curve that passes through the points defined by the factorial. Imagine a graph where the x-axis represents our numbers and the y-axis represents their factorials. At 1 we have 1, at 2 we have 2, at 3 we have 6, and at 4 we have 24. A smooth curve should exist that fills the gaps. This function would need to satisfy the fundamental property of factorials, which is that f of x plus 1 equals x times f of x. In the late 1720s, Daniel Bernoulli and Leonard Euler took up the challenge. While Bernoulli experimented with infinite products, it was Euler who provided the most elegant solution in 1729. He discovered that an improper integral could describe this relationship perfectly. This was not just a clever trick, it was a profound connection between the world of counting and the world of continuous calculus. Later, the great mathematician Legendre introduced the Greek letter capital gamma we use today. Let us look at the definition. The gamma function of z is defined as the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the power of z minus 1 times e to the power of negative t with respect to t. Note that in this expression, t is just a dummy variable for integration. The actual value depends on z. However, this integral only behaves well, or converges, when the real part of z is greater than 0. If z is too small or negative, the integral blows up to infinity near 0. To see why this integral represents a factorial, let us test it with the simplest integer. Let us calculate gamma of 1. According to our formula, gamma of 1 equals the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the power of 1 minus 1 times e to the power of negative t. Since t to the power of 0 is 1, we are left with the integral of e to the power of negative t. The antiderivative of e to the power of negative t is negative e to the power of negative t. When we evaluate this from 0 to infinity, the limit as t approaches infinity of negative e to the power of negative t is 0. Subtracting the value at 0, which is negative e to the power of negative 0, gives us 0 minus negative 1, which equals 1. Since 0 factorial is defined as 1, we see that gamma of 1 equals 0 factorial. Now we need to prove the recursive property. This is where the magic of integration by parts comes in. We want to show that gamma of z plus 1 equals z times gamma of z. By definition, gamma of z plus 1 equals the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the power of z times e to the power of negative t. We can use the integration by parts formula. The integral of u dv equals u times v minus the integral of v du. Let us set u equal to t to the power of z and dv equal to e to the power of negative t dt. This means du equals z times t to the power of z minus 1 dt, and v equals negative e to the power of negative t. Plugging these into the formula, we get the expression negative t to the power of z times e to the power of negative t, evaluated from 0 to infinity, plus the integral from 0 to infinity of z times t to the power of z minus 1 times e to the power of negative t. If we look at the first part, the boundary term, it becomes 0 at both ends. At infinity, the exponential decay of e to the power of negative t overpowers the growth of t to the power of z. At 0, t to the power of z is simply 0. This leaves us with just the integral part. Notice that the z inside the integral is a constant with respect to t, so we can pull it out. This gives us z times the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the power of z minus 1 times e to the power of negative t. But wait, that integral is exactly our definition of gamma of z. Therefore, we have proven that gamma of z plus 1 equals z times gamma of z. This is the exact same recursive relationship that factorials follow. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the elegance of Euler's work, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring more high-level mathematics to everyone. Because we have this recursive property, and we know gamma of 1 is 1, we can see how the integers fall into place. Gamma of 2 equals 1 times gamma of 1, which is 1. Gamma of 3 equals 2 times gamma of 2, which is 2. Times 1, or 2 factorial. Gamma of 4 equals 3 times gamma of 3, which is 3 times 2, or 6, which is 3 factorial. In general, for any positive integer n, gamma of n equals in parentheses n minus 1 factorial. This shift of 1 unit is a historical quirk of Legendre's notation, but the relationship is solid. But what about numbers that are not integers? What about the gaps? The integral definition works for any real number greater than 0. This means we can find the factorial of 2.5 or 3.14. But we can go even further. Using a technique called analytic continuation, we can extend the gamma function to the negative numbers. We use the formula gamma of z equals gamma of z plus 1, divided by z. This allows us to calculate values for negative z by shifting them back into the positive range where the integral works. However, we hit a problem at 0 and negative integers. If we try to calculate gamma of 0, we would have gamma of 1, divided by 0, which is undefined. The function has what we call poles at z equals 0, negative 1, negative 2, and so on. At these points, the function shoots off to infinity. This is why you cannot take the factorial of a negative integer. Now we arrive at one of the most stunning revelations in mathematical analysis, the exact value of gamma of 0.5. Why would the square root of pi, a constant usually associated with circles, appear in a function that generalizes factorials? Let us break this down step by step so you can see the logic clearly. We start with the integral definition. Gamma of 0.5 equals the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the power of negative 0.5 times e to the power of negative t with respect to t. This looks difficult to solve directly, so we use a clever substitution. Let us set t equal to x squared. If we take the derivative of both sides, we find that dt equals 2 times x dx. Now, let us substitute these values into our integral. The term t to the power of negative 0.5 becomes x squared to the power of negative 0.5, which simplifies to 1 divided by x. The e to the power of negative t becomes e to the power of negative x squared. Finally, we replace dt with 2 times x dx. Look at what happens to the variables. The x in the denominator from our first term and the x in the numerator from our dt term cancel each other out perfectly. We are left with the integral of 2 times e to the power of negative x squared dx, still evaluated from 0 to infinity. Because the function e to the power of negative x squared is perfectly symmetrical around the y-axis, the area from 0 to infinity is exactly half of the total area from negative infinity to infinity. Therefore, 2 times the integral from 0 to infinity is the same as the integral from negative infinity to infinity of e to the power of negative x squared dx. This is the famous Gaussian integral, which describes the area under the standard bell curve. While it is impossible to find a simple antiderivative for e to the power of negative x squared using standard functions, we can solve it by squaring the entire integral and converting it to polar coordinates. This transformation reveals that the square of our integral is pi. By taking the square root, we find that the total area is the square root of pi. Consequently, we have proven that gamma of 0.5 equals the square root of pi. This bridge between the world of exponential decay and the geometry of circles is a cornerstone of advanced mathematics and statistics. If you find these connections as fascinating as I do, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a deep dive into the beauty of math. Now we can use this to calculate other values. For instance, gamma of 1.5. Using our recursive formula, gamma of 1.5 equals 0.5 times gamma of 0.5. Since we just proved that gamma of 0.5 is the square root of pi, our final result is 0.5 times the square root of pi. Numerically, this is approximately 0.886. This connection between factorials, the exponential function, and the geometry of a circle via pi is one of the most beautiful links in mathematics. It is why the gamma function is so essential in statistics, where the normal distribution, the bell curve, is used to describe everything from IQ scores to measurement errors. The gamma function is not just a mathematical curiosity. In statistics, it is the foundation of the gamma distribution and the chi-squared distribution. In quantum mechanics, it appears in the normalization of certain wave functions. In number theory, it is a crucial component of the functional equation for the Riemann zeta function. It is truly a universal constant of mathematical analysis. We have seen how Euler took a simple counting rule and transformed it into a masterpiece of calculus. From the discrete steps of 1, 2, and 6, to a continuous landscape that spans the complex plane, the gamma function represents the human drive to find patterns and extend them to their absolute limits. It reminds us that mathematics is not just a collection of rules, but a living, growing map of logic. If you found this explanation helpful for your studies or your interest in math, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching this detailed breakdown of the gamma function. By understanding the integral definition and the power of integration by parts, you now hold the key to one of the most important tools in higher mathematics. Keep exploring, and never stop asking what lies between the integers.